through end of this. Hopefully within about the first half hour or so, but the way our classes are going, we'll probably get 10 pages. Actually, we'll get more than 10 pages because I want to jump up to 6:13. Harry reminds Hermione, or doesn't remind her, but they're talking. And they're talking about Rita Skeeter's latest scoop, or Rita Scooter's latest skeep. And 6:13, Ron asked, how'd she know your scar hurt in divinations? She wasn't there. No way she could have heard. Harry, window was open. Used it to breathe. Yeah, you're at the top of the North Tower, Hermione says. Your voice wouldn't have carried. Harry, you're the one who's supposed to be researching magical methods of bugging. You tell me how she did. I've been trying, and she gets this weird look on her face, and she raises and puts her hand through her hair. And does it again, holds her hand up to her mouth. And she goes, no, but she can't. She's not allowed. But she doesn't finish the sentence. So she doesn't tell Ron and Harry what she's thinking of. Okay? So, Harry goes off. He gets interrupted in Ben's class, 6:14, and runs off because the family members of the champions are visiting, etc. And there's Bill and Mrs. Weasley, bottom of 6:15.
Didn't they see Malfoy talking to someone down below? Was that part when they were in divination? It looked like he was talking into his hand.
That wasn't. Yeah, that wasn't a divination, but yes, they did see that, but they still don't put two and two together, or not yet. So Mrs. Weasley surprises Harry. She and Bill are there, and we see the top of 6:16. Fleur Delacour notices Bill, okay, with great interest. Why is Mrs. Weasley there?
She's like the mother figure.
Yeah, I mean, it's cementing this idea. Why? Well, it's going to be important in... It's not that book. Which one? Is it 6 or 7? It's going to be important in the later book because... I shouldn't say it. Nope, I'll wait. Since some of you have already given away certain deaths, I'm not going to give away any others, or allude even to any others. So, they're getting ready to enter the task, and we're going to skip the actual stuff. Harry and Cedric goes in, Crumb goes in, and then Fleur goes in, and I want to skip to 6:30, 6:31. Harry and Cedric have almost completed the task, and we see at the top of 6:30. 6:30. Now let's go to top of 6:31. He runs up a path and he sees the Triwizard Cup gleaming on a plinth 100 yards away. Okay, what does this tell us about the size of the maze? It's huge. Are we ever actually told the size of a Quidditch pitch? Which is an oxymoron in and of itself, right? Because you don't play Quidditch on the ground. That's a pitch. Okay, you play Quidditch in the air above the ground. But we're never told the size of it. Like, is it a regulation, football, soccer field? 100, 120 yards, 70 yards? Can't be. Because they're they're doing this on the pitch that is beneath where they play Quidditch. And if he's going down just one path and it's 100 yards, then this maze has got to be huge.
Probably towards the center of the maze.
Yeah, that's what you would think. Unless it goes all around and there's an outside, path that you got to go all the way through to. Anyways, a dark figure hurtles out and he sees Cedric. Cedric was sprinting as fast as he could toward the cup. Harry knew he would never catch up. Cedric is taller, longer legs, etc. He sees something. Harry yells, "Cedric, on your left." Why? Well, what did Moody already say about Harry? Back when Harry told Cedric about the dragons. That was a decent thing you did. He's a decent person, okay? That's going to be brought back up in just a few moments. On your left, Cedric turns around just in time. Gigantic spider starts to bear down upon Cedric. Harry hits the spider with Stupefy and then Impedimenta and then Stupefy again, but it doesn't work. And the spider picks Harry up. How big is this spider? Are we told an actual size? No, we're not given an actual, but we are told he was lifted into the air on its front leg, struggling madly. He tried to kick it. His leg connected with the pinchers. Next moment, he's in excruciating pain. That is, his leg connected with the pinchers is like his leg hits what? Like a spike. Okay? Cedric's trying to stupefy it. What should Cedric be doing? Go to the cup, man. Get the cup, then help Harry. Okay? Harry uses Expelliarmus. Works. And it made the spider drop him, but that meant that Harry fell 12 feet onto his already injured leg. So, we're not told the exact size of the spider, but it's a big spider. 12 feet, it's about 2 feet taller than this ceiling. Okay? So, spider's legs are probably at least 8 to 10 feet long, and the spider's body is, I don't know, size of that whole table. I mean, we're talking a big stinking spider. But he drops 12 feet onto a damaged leg. So there's Harry lying on the ground, holding his leg. Cedric says, "You all right? Did it hurt you?" "No." Well, it didn't. Harry hurt himself by trying to kick it, Cedric was standing feet from the Triwizard Cup, which was gleaming behind him. Take it then. Now, what could Cedric do? How did Harry begin his first task? Oxio Wand. Could you try Oxio Cup? I mean, you could try it. It might not work. There might be a spell that you can't do that. Here, at least. Okay? So, take it. Come on, take it. You're there. Cedric doesn't move. He looks at Harry. He looks at the cup. He looks at Harry again. You take it. You should win. It's twice you've saved my neck in here. What is Cedric showing? Louder?
Hufflepuffness.
Honor, the whole Hufflepuffness. Just, loyal, true. This is the just thing to do. He's showing loyalty to Harry, and he's being true to what? True to himself, true to kind of the whole idea of Hogwarts, but especially Hufflepuff House. Harry, it's not how it's supposed to work. Well, how's it supposed to work according to what they thought at the beginning? Well, you're not supposed to cheat. Teachers aren't supposed to help you cheat. That's out of the door, One champion per school. Harry shouldn't be there anyways. I mean, notice Harry doesn't say that. Harry doesn't say, "Cedric, I'm not even supposed to be here. There's only supposed to be one champion." Because what might be Cedric's reply? Maybe I'm not the one who's supposed to be here. Only difference being, Harry could make the point, "Yeah, but you put your name in." I didn't. Okay? Harry, the one who reaches the cup first gets the points. That's you. I'm telling you, I'm not going to win any races on this leg. Cedric takes a few paces nearer to the stunned spider, away from the cup. Notice, nearer to the stunned spider. What does the narrator not say? Nearer to what else? Harry. Okay? No. Stop being noble. What does Harry mean by that? Acting like you are noble. Is Cedric acting that way? Acting. No. He is noble. I mean, we even heard his father say, "Modest, that's what our Ced is." Yeah, Ced's modest, but his father's a jackass. Just take it, then we can get out of here. What's Harry thinking? Leg hurts,
Yeah.
bleeding. Need medical help? Just. Cedric watched Harry steadying himself, holding tight to the hedge. Now notice, Harry's sitting there, pulling himself up by the hedge. What's Cedric doing? Watching. He's not going over there helping him. He's not conjuring up, a crutch. You told me about the dragons. I would have gone down first task if you hadn't told me. I had help too. You helped me with the egg. Well, I still don't think that's quite even. We're square. Cedric, I had help on the egg in the first place. No. Somebody else spoke to him. We're still square, says Harry. You should have got more points on the second task, says Cedric. You stayed behind to get all the hostages. I should have done that. Why? Because that's the right thing to do. Harry, I was the only one who was thick enough to take that song seriously. He's right. Okay. Go. Cedric, no. He stepped over the spider's tangled legs to join Harry, who stared at him. Cedric was serious. He was walking away from the sort of glory Hufflepuff House hadn't had in centuries. Okay? Notice who Cedric, the narrator implies, who Cedric is thinking of. Himself. If he were thinking of his house, because that glory goes to where? Everybody in the house. Okay? Go on, says Cedric. Harry looks, Cedric to the cup, back to Cedric. He sees himself emerging from the maze, holding the cup up. He sees Cho, shining face with admiration. I doubt it, because she'd probably go over to Cedric, but anyways. Harry, both of us. What? We'll take it at the same time. Still Hogwarts victory. We'll tie for it. You sure? Yeah. Okay. What does that say about Malfoy's stupid little, buttons? Okay. You're on. So they go. They touch the cup, and as we all know, it's a port key. Now this is where it gets kind of interesting. Cedric, anyone tell you cup was a port key? Nope. Supposed to be part of the task. Where are they?
Graveyard.
In a graveyard.
Really?
What should you start thinking?
We're not supposed to be here.
Not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Cedric, wands out, do you reckon? Yeah, said Harry, glad that Cedric made the suggestion rather than him. Why? Why is he glad Cedric makes that suggestion?
It's not just him being paranoid.
Okay, it's not just him being paranoid or fearful. Okay? Remember, Cedric's a couple of years older. Yeah. So they pull out their wands, and they see someone coming through the darkness. They watch a figure draw near, walking steadily toward them between the graves. Harry can't make out a face, but it's carrying something. Whoever it was, he was short, wearing a hooded cloak pulled down over his head. Several paces nearer, the gap between them closing all the time, Harry saw that the thing in the person's arm looked like a baby, or was it merely a bundle of robes? Harry lowers his wand slightly, glances at Cedric. Cedric, looks back, funny look on his face. They see the approaching figure. It stopped before a towering marble headstone only 6 feet from them. For a second, we're told, Harry and Cedric and the short figure simply looked at one another. So go back for a minute. It stopped at a towering marble headstone only 6 feet from them. So, we have longer body. This is Cedric. Here's Harry. Tom Riddle, right? Headstone. Here to here, 6 feet. Okay? The figure also stops there. So here's a little rat tail.
If you're gonna do that, you gotta get Harry a scar.
Yeah, well,
I thought he would.
just making him faceless, Well, okay, I'm going to add to it in a minute. So you want the little scar. So here he's got the little scar, eyes. He's not so sure about what's going on. Cedric, he's not so sure about what's going on either. So,
Didn't they use Lumos on the wands?
And then, without warning, Harry's scar exploded with pain, with agony such he's never felt in all his life. His wand slipped from his fingers as he put his hands over his face. His knees buckle. He falls on the ground. Okay? His knees buckle. He just collapses. So he falls next to where Cedric is standing. From far away, above his head, he hears a high, cold voice say, "Kill the spare!" A swishing noise, a second voice, Avada Kedavra, a blast of green light blazed through Harry's eyelids. He hears something plop next to him. He opens his eyes. There's Cedric, spread-eagled on the ground beside him.
Yeah. Oh no.
There's Cedric, spread-eagled on the ground beside him. Notice, he's still he shrunk too. He's still next to Harry. He's still 6 feet away from the tombstone. He hasn't moved. He's just...
That's like literally he just went straight up in the air and then fell.
No, he just collapsed. Just fell down, but spread-eagled. Legs are spread, arms are spread. Okay? This is typically what we're kind of given to believe. This is what happens when you hit with Avada Kedavra. It's like you hit with a zap of electricity and everything goes like this. Except your face doesn't betray it. Cedric was lying spread-eagled on the ground. He was dead. For a second that contained eternity, Harry stared into Cedric's face at his open gray eyes, blank and expressionless. Notice, he doesn't look scared. He's just not there anymore. Okay? And he feels himself being pulled to his feet. The short man in the cloak had put down his bundle, lit his wand, was dragging Harry to the marble headstone. So, Harry now is taken over to the marble headstone, and he's tied to it. How far is he from Cedric? He's still 6 feet away from Cedric. Middle of 639. Cedric's body was lying some 20 feet away.
Oh.
How? There's nothing that explains that. He fell right next to Harry. Harry could have reached out and touched him. Harry is taken over to the tombstone, 6 feet away still. Okay, two things going on here. One, bad writing. Two, horrible copy editing. The copy editor, I think, didn't want to touch a word. Why? This, gold in the bank. When this thing was published, well, before it was published, there was so much hype. After the third book, okay, about J.K. Rowling, long before this was even in the publisher's hands, there was hype about it. I mean, the first three books were already New York Times bestseller lists. 1, 2, 3. Okay? This was on the New York Times bestseller list before anybody read it. Kind of scratch your head. How can that be? Well, a bestseller. It had sold online copies. I don't think they wanted to touch a word. You can live this sucker, and it's the same thing. Because this thing could easily be 200 pages shorter. And you wouldn't really lose anything. Okay? So, it's Wormtail, Harry realizes. And there's a cauldron nearby. We're not told how the cauldron gets there. I'm assuming it was set up already. Okay? And what happens? Wormtail goes and picks up the little bundle and drops it in the cauldron. Yeah, you can hope that in a moment. Because Wormtail then starts practicing his black mass. It's how some people referred to it at the beginning. Harry, let it drown, let it drown, let it drown. Bone of the father unknowingly given. He does the spell. The dust comes up out of Tom Riddle's grave. Goes in the water. Flesh of the servant will be willingly given. You will revive your master. And what's he do? Stretches out his right hand. Pulls out a little knife. Okay, that's hard to do. Because, you've got bones and tendons there. And the tendons are tough. Okay? It must be a magical knife. But does it have to be the whole hand?
Probably
I mean, he's already missing a finger. Why not do a matching pair? Just, prune clippers and just drop the finger in. Just asking. Blood of the enemy forcibly taken, you will resurrect your foe. And he comes over and he takes some of Harry's blood. Okay? Harry, let it have drowned. Let it have gone wrong. Who's he speaking to? Himself? The universe? It's gone wrong. It's drowned. Please, let it be dead. And up comes, which one is it? Joseph Fiennes? Rafe Fiennes? One of the two Fiennes brothers. Voldemort. Okay? And Voldemort tells Wormtail, hold out your arm. Thank you, thank you. And he holds this one out. Because he hasn't put a tourniquet on. Okay? I mean, he's not going to live long like this. He's not the Black Knight in Monty Python. And he says, not that one, the other one. Pulls up his sleeve, and he sees the dark mark. Nice and, very, very clear. Okay? Master, please. Okay? He says, how many would be brave enough to return? And then we start hearing the as people apparate. Okay? He starts to talk to Harry about the people who lived up on the hillside. And the Death Eaters all arrive. And Voldemort just keeps talking. I smell guilt. There's a stench of guilt in the air. Nobody says anything. And he asks a question. He says, and I answer myself. Kind of like because there's the only smart person to have a conversation with. They must have believed me broken. They thought I was gone. Okay? How could they think that happened? Did they think perhaps that champion of commoners, of mudbloods and muggles, Albus Dumbledore, And one of them falls at his feet. Page 648. Master, forgive me, forgive us all. Voldemort, Crucio. Harry's brains exploding. Or Harry's thinking because of the pain this guy's in. Surely the police will come. And Voldemort says, get up, Avery. So it's Avery that admits, sorry, I didn't believe. Book 5. Avery's going to be the same one who gets crucioed by Voldemort. Okay? He says, forgiveness? I don't forgive. I do not forget. 13 long years. Wormtail here has paid some of his debt already. Have you not, Wormtail? How? Psst, psst, psst. And so he gives Wormtail a new hand. What kind of hand? Silver hand. Okay? And he says, you help me return to my body, worthless and traitorous as you are. You help me. Lord Voldemort rewards his helpers. Wormtail says, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay? Kisses the hem of Voldemort's robes. May your loyalty never waver again, Wormtail. That's a clue. Book 7. No, my lord, never, 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 never.
Do you think it's significant?
We can't address Book 7, so go ahead.
Well, do you think it's significant that he called him a helper instead of a follower or a servant?
Well, it doesn't actually call him a helper. He says, you returned to me not out of loyalty, but out of fear, yet you helped return me to my body. I mean, what other verb could he use there beyond helped? Because servant or follow wouldn't help. He does call him worthless and traitorous. But you helped me. Well, kind of fits, right? Because how loyal is Voldemort? Who does he address? Yes.
I've seen some theories on this. I'm just curious what you think. Why do you think Voldemort calls him Wormtail instead of just Peter? Since calls everyone else by the name of Pettigrew. He calls everyone else by the name.
It's good. It's a good question. Why would he call him that? Because he calls him that earlier, at the beginning of the novel. Is he saying something about Peter Pettigrew's real nature? He's a rat. I mean, he's traitorous and treasonous. Is he traitorous and treasonous to Voldemort? No. He was traitorous and treasonous what? To his friends. So how far can he trust him? When he's in my sight. I mean, that's the implication. Nobody likes a traitor. Even the people that the traitor is working for. They, you it's like in a marriage, once you cheat on your spouse, there's no going back. There's no uncheating, okay? He's cheated on his quote-unquote family. He can't undo that. So everybody now who knows about that, and I think by calling him Wormtail, what's he doing? He's re-emphasizing his relationship with whom? James Potter. You were Wormtail to, quote, proms. It's like I'm not going to let you forget that. I'm going to hold that over you. Okay? I think. I could be wrong. So who does he address next? Lucius, my slippery friend. He says, I heard about you at the Quidditch World Cup, etc., etc. He goes, I was constantly on the alert. You're lying through your teeth, Lucius. And yet you ran from my mark. I expect more faithful service in the future. Well, of course, you're merciful. No, he's not merciful. Okay? Lestranges should be here. Okay? McNair, you knew McNair was a baddie, right? I mean, he gets his jollies by bed and hippogriffs. Okay? Who else? Crabbe, Goyle. Well, if there's a Malfoy, you pretty much know the two bookends have got to be there. Even though these are the elder ones. Not, yes. Okay? And then he says 651. And here we have 6 missing Death Eaters. 3 dead in my service. Those were the ones Sirius mentioned back at Hogsmeade. Okay. 1 too cowardly to return. Who does he think that is? Or who do we think he means by that? Is it Karkaroff? Or is it Snape? We're not given to know much here, other than we've seen the pensive. Okay. Does Voldemort know that Snape was a spy? One who I believe has left me forever. Now, usually people say that's Snape. He'll be killed, of course. And one who remains my most faithful servant who has already re-entered my service. And that one's question mark. Okay? So, he does what every villain in every villainous film does.
Explains his plans.
Monologues. He narrates. He explains. He doesn't just, boom, kill him. Be done with it. He's got to explain. So he talks about Harry being his downfall. He talks about what happened the night that he gave Harry his scar. He says, 653, I miscalculated. My curse was deflected by the woman's foolish sacrifice. It rebounded on me. Pain beyond pain, etc. Okay? Talks about what happened to him 4 years ago. The means for my return seemed assured. What would happen 4 years ago? Was it Quirrell? It's the philosopher. Let's use a real word. Yeah, it's the philosopher's stone, or as Neville will call it, the phosphorus stone. Okay, nice mixing of the two, sorcerers and philosophers. Okay, but what happens to it? Damn kid got in the way again. Okay. So, servant died when I left his body, was left as weak as I was before, then not even a year ago, and I almost abandoned hope, and Wormtail returned to me. Or did he? 654 at the bottom. And then, not even a year ago, when I had almost abandoned hope, it happened at last. ... A servant returned to me. Wormtail here, who had faked his own death to escape justice, was driven out of hiding by those he had once counted friends, and decided to return to his master. He sought me in the country where it had long been rumored I was hiding, that is, Albania. Helped, of course, by the rats he met along the way. Wormtail has a curious affinity with rats, do you not, Wormtail? I mean, this kind of gets at your question. I think, he is rat-like. His little friends told him there was a place deep in an Albanian forest, blah, blah, blah. But his journey back wasn't smooth, was it, Wormtail? No, he met Bertha Jorkins. And he talked about what happened with Bertha Jorkins. She told me about the Triwizard Tournament. She told me she knew of a faithful Death Eater who would be only too willing to help me if I could only contact him. She told me many things by the means I used to break the memory charm, etc., etc. Who's the faithful Death Eater Bertha Jorkins knew about?
Barty Crouch.
Barty Crouch. How did she know? Why would Barty Crouch Sr. have told her that? Go ahead.
Well, he didn't tell her. She went to their house and she saw him because Winky and him were talking in the kitchen, I think.
Yep, we find that out later.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then what happened to her? Put a memory charm on her. Okay. That's the memory charm Voldemort's talking about. He had to break. And in breaking it, oh darn. Bertha Jorkins got broken too. Okay. So, he says, Wormtail's body, of course, 656, was ill-adapted for possession as all assumed him dead, would attract far too much attention. But he was the able-bodied servant I needed, and poor wizard though he is, really? Is Wormtail really that poor wizard? What fairly complex spell do we know he mastered? No, not the killing. He's an animagus, which is more than just transfiguration. Transfiguration usually applies to something else, like turning that chair into an ox. Okay, doing it to yourself takes a little bit more work. So he goes on and talks about the spell he used to bring himself back. He faces Harry, raises his wand, Crucio. Pain beyond anything Harry had ever experienced. He wanted it to die. And Voldemort stops. He says, now, you see how foolish it was to suppose this boy could ever have been stronger than me. Time, Wormtail, give him back his wand. In other words, let's make it a fair fight. Well, would it be a fair fight? He's now 2 years older than he would have been in Chamber of Secrets. How old was he then? He's off, 68. He's 70 now. He's got an additional 2 years, if you want, of learning more magic. How old's Harry? 74. 14. He doesn't know any. This is like, Lockhart saying, okay, and now we duel. Having Harry duel Snape instead of Harry dueling.
And him doing the curse on him is kind of like, I think it was in Gladiator, like when he stabbed him underneath the armor before they even thought to make it fair. To make it look.
Yeah, I see your point. It's his way of weakening Harry.
Yeah.
What's the problem with that? What else could it do to Harry? Stiffen his resolve? Because we're going to see the duel. What does Harry do? He dives behind the marble tombstone. And what does he think while he's back there? I'm not going to die huddled up like a coward. I'm going to die like my father did. Standing up. But he doesn't know yet. His father died wandless. He didn't have his wand in his hand. Okay? Threw it on the couch, if I remember correctly. So, Wormtail gives Harry his wand back. Voldemort, you've been taught how to duel? What could Harry say at this point? No! No, I never did. I had that moron Lockhart teach me, and what did he do? Oh, Harry, you just kind of do this.
Yeah.
Can I go get real dueling lessons first? And okay.
Right here.
What's Harry think he knows? What can he do? What's he good at?
Spell knots.
Disarming spell. What use would that be to deprive Voldemort of his wand? Even if he could, surrounded by Death Eaters. So we bow to each other, Harry. And Voldemort bends a little, and Harry's like, I'm not going to bow you. He goes, come on, niceties must be observed. Why? Because we've seen other people teaching other people, quote unquote, niceties. Arthur Weasley teaching Vernon consideration. Dumbledore would like you to show manners. It's probably true, he would. I mean, if Voldemort had ever been a teacher, Professor Voldemort. Bow to death, Harry. They're laughing. Harry, notice he's not going to bow. And we hear, I said, bow. And Harry feels his spine curve as though a huge invisible hand were bending him ruthlessly forward. Is that because he's under an Imperious curse? No. This is something else. Some other spell that makes him bow. He says, and now face me like a man, straight back from the way you're fathered. Now, is that meant to instill some fear? You know, I killed your father, boy. Prepare to die. Or is this a way of kind of egging him on a little bit, like
Hook and Bear.
yeah, or like the cat and mouse. Let's make this fun for me. And now we duel. Voldemort raises his wand, and before Harry could even move, he'd been hit again by the Cruciatus curse. And then it stopped, and Harry rolls, scrambles to his feet, shaking uncontrollably. Voldemort, a little break. That hurt, didn't it, Harry? You don't want me to do that again, do you? Harry doesn't answer. He's going to die like Cedric. He wasn't going to obey Voldemort. He wasn't going to beg. I asked you whether Imperial. Just answer no. Just answer no. Because he's been taught, I won't. Excuse me? You won't? You won't say no? Harry, obedience is a virtue. I need to teach you before you die. It's good. It is a virtue. And Harry does what? He jumps behind that. We're not playing hide and seek, Harry. You cannot hide from me. Does this mean you're tired of our duel? Does this mean you would prefer me to finish it now? Come out, Harry. Come out and play. It'll be quick. It might even be painless. I would never know. I've never died. And Harry's thinking, I'm going to die crouching here like a child playing hide and seek. Excuse me, I'm not going to. He was not going to die kneeling at Voldemort's feet. He was going to die upright like his father and trying to defend himself even if no defense was possible. Okay? What's the only spell he really knows? Expelliarmus. What does Expelliarmus do? Okay, we're told it's the disarming charm. Now, think of that phrase, disarming. Okay? What does that literally mean?
Let's take his arm off. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it means to remove arms. The arm here, however, is like armament. Okay, it's weapon. Okay? But you take it in its literal meaning, and what else does it mean? If you remove your opponent's arms, how can they fight you? Well, unless you're the Black Knight and Monty Python, I can't get that. Right? You can't. There is a variety of martial art. It happens every single time I teach a class. That when I say that, it poofs out of my mind. Aikido? I think it's Aikido. Where the purpose of the martial art is to essentially disarm your opponent. No, it's not that kind of disarming. It's to use your opponent's strength against him so that, and here's the unique thing about this form, so that your opponent doesn't harm himself. Not harm himself like he's going to, do a kick or something, he kicks himself in the head. Not like that. Harm himself how? By causing harm to another. Okay? So you disarm because you're actually concerned with what? The harm the other individual will do to himself by causing harm to others. Okay? Oh, there's something I really want to talk about, but I can't yet. Because not all of you have finished book 5 yet. Anyways, so Voldemort yells Avada Kedavra, Harry yells Expelliarmus, their wands shoot out their respective beams of light, and they meet. Harry and Voldemort are lifted up from where they are to another spot, and you get this golden web of light around them. And the beam. And we're told 664. And then an unearthly and beautiful sound filled the air, coming from every thread of the light-spun web. Told you it wouldn't be done in 30 minutes. Sound Harry recognized Phoenix song. Sound of hope for Harry. Most beautiful welcome thing. Okay, so if this is the sound of hope for Harry, the most beautiful sound in the world, what do you think it is for Voldemort?
Most terrifying.
Terrifying.
Probably the exact opposite.
Especially since the diary.
Is Voldemort aware of the diary? I mean, Harry asked Dumbledore, and Dumbledore said, I don't know, but probably not. It was the sound he connected with Dumbledore. And it was almost as though a friend was speaking in his ear and said, don't break the connection. Harry, I know. And he sees on the thread of light connecting the two wands, there's these big balls of light. And the bead of light gets closer and closer and closer to Harry's wand tip. And the wand gets hot and starts to shake a little bit. He concentrated every last particle of his mind upon forcing the bead back toward Voldemort. Why? Does he know why? No, he doesn't. He just does. And they quiver and they goo and they start going back closer and closer to Voldemort. And now it's Voldemort who looks astonished. Why? This damn kid's going to beat me. One of the beads of light's quivering inches from the tip of Voldemort's wand. Harry doesn't know why he's doing this, he just does. And it connects. Voldemort's wand starts to scream. Voldemort's eyes widen with shock. Does Voldemort know what's about to happen? You would think with all the magic he knows what's going to happen. But you can only know what's happening if you knew what? That their wands were brothers. Okay? So what should Voldemort have done? Break that thing. Wormtail, give him your wand. Okay? So, what happens? Wormtail's hand comes out. Well, that's something new. And then a head and chest and arms and Cedric Diggory's body. If ever Harry might have released his wand from shock, it would have been then. Was it a ghost? It looked so solid. Hold on, Harry! Voice distant, echoing. Distant and echoing. What does that imply? What could that imply? And I don't mean what Dumbledore says towards the end of this. Because I'll tell you right now, I think Dumbledore's wrong. When Dumbledore tells Harry and Sirius what he thinks these things are that come out of the wand. He's going to call them echoes. Okay?
I feel like it might be part of their souls are trapped in the wand.
Yeah, I think you're pretty close. Okay? So, notice Voldemort's eyes are red, shocked. More screams come from the wand. And then another head. Another arms and torso. An old man. Leaning on his walking stick. He was a real wizard then. Killed me, that one did. You fighting boy. Okay. He was a real wizard. Notice that's an awareness of the past, but it's spoken in the present. Okay. Another head emerges. This time a woman's. Bertha Jorkins. Don't let him go. Or Yorkins, if you want to pronounce it Scandinavian-wise. Don't let him get you, Harry. How does she know this is Harry Potter? Does she pop out and Harry's holding his wand and do this so she can see?
And if it was an echo, it wouldn't.
She and the other two shadowy figures began to pace around. Are we ever told, is Wormtail's hand just, laying there? Or might it kind of be twitching? Or is it kind of following them around? I mean, you could have a lot of fun with this. Another head comes out. And Harry knew who it was. Or knew who it would be. The smoky shadow of a young woman with long hair fell to the ground. Your father's coming, she said quietly. Hold on for your father. It will be all right. Hold on. Now, if you have a first edition of this hardback, that's not what happens. Harry's father comes out first, and then Lily,
So then
which
that
is
means-
wrong.
Because he would have had to die before.
Exactly, because they're
After
coming
Lily.
out. They're coming out in reverse order. They're coming out of the most recent. Okay, he died before Lily, so she comes out before him. Where is it? She comes out and she says, "Your father's coming." It's like, is he on deck? Is he wait, batter up, you know? And you go and you get in the batter's box and go out the long tunnel. Kind of interesting. Your father's coming. Hold on for your father. It will be all right. Hold on. Now, think of this language. And think of the situation that Harry is in. Take the situation that he's currently in and make it a more kind of real-worldy home family situation where something bad has happened. It'll be okay. Your father's coming. He'll make it all right. That's what she's telling him. Notice, that's something Harry has never heard in his entire life. Do you think Aunt Petunia ever said, "It's okay, Harry. Vernon will make it all right"? Bam! You know, that's how Vernon makes things all right. Okay? This is the quintessential cri de coeur, cry of the heart of every child. They want to know their parent is going to protect them and make it all right. Kind of hard to teach this after what happened in southern Florida yesterday. And he came. First his head, then his body, tall, untidy-haired like Harry. He fell to the ground. He straightened up like his wife. He walked close to Harry, looking down at him. He spoke in the same distant, echoing voice as the others, but quietly, so that Voldemort, his face now livid with fear, because you don't think Voldemort knows who these people are? Like, I killed you. Why don't you stay dead? When the connection is broken, we will linger for only moments. Okay, so he knows there's a connection. He's aware of why he's there. But we will give you time. You must get to the port. How the hell does James know there's a port key?
Yeah, how, in Echo, how could that be?
Present tense. It will return you to Hogwarts. If he's an Echo, how does he know that where he is? Do you understand, Harry? If I were Harry, I'd go, what? Dad, how do you know it's a port key? Any guesses? Go ahead.
It could be. I mean, so I was looking back at the hand, and he said that he saw the puff of gray smoke, and the shape of a hand came out of his wand. That maybe he sees just the things, and it's in his head that's telling him what to do.
What do you think that's a plausible theory?
Because he
Is this
heard-
all in his head?
He saw the. Well, the only person that wouldn't have worked with was Bertha Jenkins.
Well, hold on for a moment. Let's jump up to book 7. Let's jump up to book 7 for a moment. Okay? The chapter King's Cross. Towards the end of the book, I'm not going to give anything away, but there's going to be a scene, and Harry's going to say, "So is all this just happening in my head and it's not real?" Dumbledore says, "It is all happening in your head, but that doesn't make it less real." But there's one problem with your theory. Voldemort sees them too.
Mm.
And they scare the hell out of him. Well, not literally, because then he become good. They scare him. His eyes get which is kind of hard when they're slits. They get whiter and whiter and whiter with shock. I mean, just seeing Wormtail's hand come out. Now, I think he probably does know what the spell is, why this is happening. And I think he's putting 2 and 2 together about Harry's wand and his wand. And he's like, if I live through this, Ollivander's going to pay, you know. Okay? So, Harry says, yes, I understand. Meanwhile, Cedric's figure comes over to him and says, Harry, take my body back, will you? Take my body back to my parents. Okay? Notice, take my body. That is not an echo. That is something talking about something else. Okay?
It's like the spell is like bridging the gap between this reality and like spiritual realities.
Exactly. Or we are seeing the manifestation, their souls, and in Cedric's case, the soul is what? Referring to its shell, the thing that encases it in life. Okay. C.S. Lewis in one of his things says, you are not your body. You are a soul inhabiting the body. Okay. The body's necessary. You can't have the soul without the body. But similarly, you lose the body and the soul goes away. Okay. How do we know this is correct? What do we see at Hogwarts? Go ahead, Ivan.
It was kind of like what you brought up about the mirror of Erised, where they were acting in real time. So it's like it wasn't just like they were there not interacting with her. It was almost like part of them were living there. So it's like kind of like
Yeah, I think, that's another indication, or that's a blurring of the lines of distinction between the physical world and the spiritual world, which we're going to see again in book 5. It picks up really fast. Book 5? Yes, book 5. We're going to see it. Okay? So, Harry, I will. Now, put yourself in Harry's shoes. You're fighting Voldemort. Your once living friend's soul, possibly, tells you, I know you got your hands full, but would you mind taking my body back to my parents? What would you say in that moment?
I'll try.
I'd say, Cedric, my hands are a little full. I'll come back for it. We'll bring you back. Don't worry, no man left behind kind of thing, We'll come back for you. I mean, think about this request. It's a little over the top. Okay? I will. James, do it now. Be ready to run. Do it now. So, how does he know it's a port key? There was only one person that was inside the wand, so to speak, or where they came from that knew it was a port key. Cedric. So whatever this thing is of Cedric and James at least did what? Prior to coming out. Sat down and had a beer over what it was like to be killed by Voldemort. That's the only explanation, that there had to be some kind of communication between them. Okay? So, Harry breaks the connection. Voldemort says, stun him. Harry goes to close to the thing. He leans out behind, gets Cedric's body, axial port key, and all at once, and he goes back. Okay? So, slams into the ground, and we see Cornelius Fudge, and there's Harry, and there's Diggory's body, and Harry says Voldemort's back, and Fudge doesn't believe a word. Where is Dumbledore? Where is Dumbledore for the first 5 minutes or so of all this? Because up comes Moody and says, I'll take him. I'll take Harry Dumbledore. No, I would prefer. Dumbledore, Amos Diggory's running. He's coming over. Don't you think you should tell him? He goes, Harry, stay here. Notice he doesn't say, Moody, don't take Harry. Harry, stay here. But he doesn't. So Moody takes him up to his office. He asks a bunch of questions. Page 675. He forgave them. The Death Eaters who went, the ones who escaped. What? Harry says, I asked you whether he forgave the scum who never even went to look for him. I mean, the ones who fled when I fired the dark mark off. Harry, you fired? What are you talking about? I told you, Harry. I told you. If there's one thing I hate more than any other, it's a Death Eater who walked free. Well, he did say that when? Draco Malfoy, the amazing bouncing ferret. Harry's like, no, it couldn't have been you. Why not? 1, I liked you. 2, you're a good defense against the dark arts teacher. 3, you turned Draco Malfoy into, bouncing ferret. 4, you helped me in the Triwizard Tournament, which turned out to be a trap. 676. Potter, I knew you hadn't worked out the eggs clue towards the bottom, so I had to give you another hint. Harry, you didn't. Cedric gave me the clue. Who told Cedric to open the egg underwater? I did. I trusted that he would pass the information on to you. Why? Decent people are so easy to manipulate. Why are decent people easy to manipulate? And notice, it's decent people. It's not gullible people. It's not naive people. What's another word for decent? What's the word Harry uses in the maze to describe noble? Noble people, honorable people are so easy to manipulate. Why? How so?
They're always going to do the right thing, and usually the right thing isn't more than one thing.
Okay, they're going to do the right thing. Why else?
Going off the right thing, Harry helped Cedric, so he knew that Cedric would
Okay.
favor.
Okay. Why else? What do decent people assume about others?
Then
They're
there
also
is-
decent.
That they're also decent. They give other people the benefit of the doubt. Okay. I was sure Cedric would want to repay you for telling him about the dragons, and he did. But even then he says, you seem likely to fail. So, you waited till the last moment. Why did I, at the beginning of the year, give Neville Longbottom magical water plants of the Mediterranean? And you never took the bait, so to speak. Okay? So, Dumbledore et al. Come to rescue Harry. Page 679. Doors blown open, Moody's thrown backwards into the office, and there's Dumbledore, Snape, and McGonagall. At that moment, Harry fully understood for the first time why people said Dumbledore was the only wizard Voldemort had ever feared. The look upon Dumbledore's face as he stared down at the unconscious form of Mad-Eye Moody was more terrible than Harry could have ever imagined. No benign smile upon Dumbledore's face, no twinkle in the eyes. This is Gandalf uncloaked, This is Dumbledore the White, revealed in all his, fearsome majesty. So, McGonagall says, come on, Harry, we need to go up to the hospital wing. He says, no. She said, come on, Dumbledore. He says, no, he needs to understand. Why? Top of 680. Understanding is the first step to acceptance. He needs to understand so that he can accept what's happened to him. He has to accept it. What happens if he doesn't accept it? It's not that it doesn't become real. It's that he doesn't then what? Move on. Only with acceptance can there be recovery. He's got to accept it before he can say it really happened. Okay? He needs to know who has put him through the ordeal he has suffered tonight. Harry, it can't be Moody. It can't be. Dumbledore, that's not Alastor Moody. So he goes to the trunk thing, opens it up, and there, multiple layers down, there's the real Alastor Moody. Okay? Controlled by an Imperious curse. They bring up Winky. Mr. Moody, Mr. Moody. Okay? So Dumbledore has Snape go get his Veritaserum. And if it didn't scare Harry before, the power of Veritaserum, this should. Because he sees it given to Barty Crouch, and what does he do? Sings like a nightingale. I mean, just lays out everything. How he got out of Azkaban, how he went back to his father's, how Bertha Jorkins came in, how they plotted everything. Okay, exactly. So, let's see here. Go to, Parting of the Ways. Dumbledore takes Harry upstairs, page 694. He says, Harry, I need to know what happened after you touched the port key. Sirius. Come on, Dumbledore, that can wait. I mean, let Harry sleep. Dumbledore. If I thought I could help you by putting you into an enchanted sleep, allowing you to postpone the moment when you would have to think about what has happened tonight, I would do it. Notice, he doesn't say, if I thought it would help you to just let you go to sleep. No, put you in an enchanted sleep. That is like really good drugs, just gone. Yeah, I mean, just the wildest dreams, But I know better. Numbing the pain for a while, what? Will make it worse when you finally feel it. About 8 years ago, slipped on some ice, broke my fall with my arm like this. Totally tore my rotator cuff. So that my arm just kind of went, yuck, and hung there. Okay? I didn't get any real painkillers for several days. Hurt like hell. I mean, where I was nearly passing out from the pain. That pain, however, wasn't really anything to the pain I felt after last summer when I had partial shoulder replacement. They cut off the bone around here, stick a new metal thing down in there with a round humerus. The pain after that made that earlier pain like a paper cut. Okay? That's what Dumbledore means. If I just numb the pain for a while, guess what, Harry? You're still going to have the surgery. You're still going to have to, what? Deal with it. You've shown bravery beyond anything I could have expected of you. In other words, that bucket list that Harry had, thirst to prove yourself, check. You've done that, Harry. You don't need to prove anything. But tell me what happened. So he does. He said my blood would make him stronger than if he'd used somebody else's. He said the protection my mother left to me, he'd have it too. He was right. He could touch me. Notice, for a fleeting instant, Harry thought he saw a gleam of something like triumph in Dumbledore's eyes. Now, when this first came out, discussion boards were all lit up about this passage. Because some people thought that this showed Dumbledore was in cahoots, actually, with Voldemort. They thought, yes, it worked. Okay? Turns out, exact opposite. He says, okay, so he's gotten past that particular barrier, so keep going. Talks about the wands connected. Notice, Sirius. Well, what happens when that happens? Pariori incantatem. The reverse, he understands what that means in English. The reverse spell effect. He says, yes. Harry, my wand's feather came from Fawkes, which is probably why he hears the music he hears. Okay? There's also one of the reasons Fawkes comes to him in the Chamber of Secrets. Yes, he is loyal to Dumbledore, but what else? It's almost like he has a homing pigeon, or a GPS device on him. So notice, Sirius doesn't know what'll happen when a wand meets its brother. Dumbledore says they won't work properly. One will force the other one to regurgitate spells it has performed. So some form of Cedric must have come out. Diggory come back to life. Notice how Sirius interprets that. Sirius, Diggory resurrected. No spell can reawaken the dead. Okay? To which all the Christians went, yeah, damn it, that's why she deserves to burn it up. So, the ghost Cedric, or whatever it was, he spoke, Harry says. Dumbledore, an echo, which retains Cedric's appearance and character. and speaks in real time, present tense, is aware of the past, and also knows what's going to happen in the future. Yeah, if you want to call that an echo, Harry, you know. An old man, Harry says, Bertha Jorkins and your parents? Yes. So what did they do? Harry describes how they prowled the edges of the golden web, how the shadow of Harry's father had told him what to do. Notice shadow, not echo. What's the difference between a shadow and an echo?
A shadow is cast only by something that's there.
There's a reality to a shadow to an echo, to a shadow that there isn't to an echo. Okay? You can go to a canyon, yell something and leave, and the voice goes on. Shine a light on something and the thing moves, the shadow's gone. Okay? So, others come in, Molly comes in, etc. We hear loud commotion. Dumbledore's speaking to McGonagall, 702. It's like, what's going on? I told you to stay with Barty Crouch. She said, don't worry. No bother. Fudge is taking care of him. And we find out, page 703, he's gotten the Dementor's kiss. Fudge says, no loss. No loss. He's been responsible for several deaths. Dumbledore's like, well, yeah, there is a loss because now he can't give testimony. A lot of people also thought, this shows that Fudge is in league with Voldemort. I mean, he got rid of the evidence. So, Dumbledore and Fudge go back and forth. Harry jumps in the conversation. What does Fudge assume about Harry? Let's see, you're the one who falls and has fits. You're the one who sees things nobody else sees. Harry's like, you've been reading the Daily Prophet, haven't you? Harry names names. You could have gotten those from news accounts. Dumbledore, 708. After he advises Fudge to do a couple things, what two big things? Two big pieces of advice does he give to Fudge?
Get rid of the Dementors.
Get rid of the Dementors at Azkaban.
Go to the Giants.
And go to the Giants. So, how does Fudge understand remove the Dementors from Azkaban? For him, that's like remove all the prison guards and open all the cell doors in Azkaban. Let all the worst of the worst go free. Okay? And appeal to the Giants. You can't be serious. It'd be the end of my career. That's what's important to Fudge. Dumbledore, you are blinded by the love of the office you hold, Cornelius. You place too much importance, you always have done, on the so-called purity of blood. Moral of the tale, possibly, you fail to recognize it matters not what someone is born, but what they grow to be. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Notice, it's not our choices that determine what we are. They reveal, okay? It's what someone grows to be. What did Barty Crouch Jr. grow to be? A Death Eater. And yet he came from what? 1, pure blood family. 2, important family. Father tipped to be Minister of Magic. What does that show? You can come from the best family in the world and still turn out rotten. What's the flip side mean? You can come from the worst family or the most abnormal family, think Hagrid, and still turn out good. There is no rotten to the core. There is no bad blood. Okay? It's actions that someone takes or makes that determine where they fall on the moral spectrum. Okay? 709, Fudge. Now see here, Dumbledore, I've given you free reign, always, had a lot of respect for you, but if you're going to work against me, Notice how he interprets everything Dumbledore's saying. If you're going to work, the only one against whom I intend to work is Lord Voldemort. Only Sith deal in absolutes. What's he mean? If you're against Voldemort, we're on the same side. That's it. He can't be back, Dumbledore. He can't be. That's a plea. Why?
He doesn't want him to be.
He doesn't want him to be. Why else?
He's afraid it's going to cost him if he is.
Okay, it's afraid it'll cost him his job. What else? We've had 13 years where he hasn't been back. What does it mean if he is? What does it do to his whole worldview? Turns it upside down. Okay? Turns it entirely upside down. What would happen today if Donald Trump held a press conference? Or if you don't want it to be Trump, Mike Pence, or, Jeff Sessions or Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, held a press conference and said, we were told several years ago that Osama bin Laden, was killed by Navy SEAL Team 6. That was a lie. And here's the evidence to prove it was a lie. And here's a picture of Osama bin Laden holding February 15th, 2018, New York Times. What would that do? Talk about... that would piss off a few people, right? All those people who celebrated when Osama bin Laden's death was announced. People who partied, etc., would be really angry. Okay? Who would they really be really angry at? The government. Okay? I mean, Obama's reputation, which is up here, would go where? It wouldn't go to the ground. It'd go through the ground and below, as low as it could ever become. Okay? That's kind of the image you have to understand. He can't be back. What's the government been saying for 13 years? Or even worse. You every now and then you go to checkout line in the grocery store and there's Hitler's alive. What if we discovered Hitler really was still alive? What would the Jews do? I mean, just their minds would explode. Okay? Why? Because he's supposed to be dead for the last 75 years, 73 years.
And I kind of feel like Fudge did that to Barty Crouch Jr. just so that way there was no witness.
Well, yeah, I think so too. I think that's entirely what he's doing. Okay? So, Dumbledore says, alert the old crowd. He makes two reveal their true selves to each other. Sirius, Snape, what do they want to do? Well, But he says you got to be not friends, but you got to work together. Okay? The old crowd. Who is mentioned by name? Lupin. Anybody else remember some of the other names? Mundungus Fletcher. Arabella Figg. Who we know from the first book. And here's like. Okay. So we get to the end of the year feast. Dumbledore.
He didn't make the connection yet.
No, Harry doesn't make the connection there. He doesn't make the connection really to the beginning of the next book. Okay? So, Dumbledore offers a toast to Cedric Diggory. And he talks about Cedric, and he talks about what the Ministry of Magic doesn't want them to know. And he says the Ministry of Magic doesn't wish you to tell me that. Doesn't wish me to tell you this. So what does that mean? What does every student immediately do? What?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tell us.
And he tells them Voldemort's alive. Harry saw him come back. Harry saw him kill Cedric Diggory. Harry brought Cedric Diggory's body back. And he raises his glass to Harry. Okay? He says, everybody in this hall is welcome back here. At any time. We are only as strong, bottom of 723, as we are united. As weak as we are united. As weak as we are divided. Lord Voldemort's gift for spreading discord and enmity is very great. We can fight it only by showing an equally strong bond of friendship and trust. Differences of habit and language are nothing at all if our aims are identical and our hearts are open. Notice, differences of language and habit are nothing only if two conditions are met. Otherwise, they are important. What are the two conditions? If we have the same goals or aims and our hearts are open. As long as we have the same goals and as long as we are open to one another, then cultural differences don't matter. If we don't have same goals and open hearts, then cultural differences are important. Okay? And he finishes with, and I won't say anything else about the book other than this. Remember Cedric. Remember if the time should come when you have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy. Remember what happened to a boy who was good and kind and brave because he strayed across the path of Lord Voldemort. How does that make sense? How did Cedric have to make a choice between what is right and what is easy? Where did he make that choice? The port key. What would have been easy? Mine. Mine. 1,000 galleons. Glory. Mine. That's the easy choice. He chose the right choice. And what did it end up in?
It cost him his life.
Cost him his life.
But both. Most of them.
Okay. Remember, what's he telling his students? Make the right choice. What might it lead to? It might lead to your death. Football coach, the high school yesterday. Assistant football coach, also security guard for the school. Heard shots going off, pulled out his walkie-talkie. Somebody said, is that firecrackers? Hell no, not firecrackers. Ran towards the shots, saw the shooter, saw a girl, threw her in a classroom, and stood there in the open doorway and took the bullets. Made the right choice. Okay, we'll stop there. So we're even farther behind than I am in all my classes for